After graduation, my best friend Hannah and I took a weekend trip to New Orleans. I was more than excited for this adventure. A new grad, 21 years old, with my partner in crime in the city of sex, sin, booze, and voodoo. Our trip was great. The drive is sort of long from North Carolina, but luckily Hannah is a speed demon, and she just drove the whole way. I fell in love with those old houses in the French Quarter. We went to the Café du Monde for donuts. Holy cow, I think I gained more weight from the food in New Orleans than I did in my entire freshman year in college. I'm going to be honest with you. Bourbon Street was not my favorite. It smelled bad. Creepy men tried to get us into their strip clubs. Street actors roamed the streets. Random people, some drunk and some homeless, just randomly approached you. But my best friend loved it. Things did not start getting weird until Saturday night. We were out on Bourbon Street despite my protests. My end goal was Pat O'Brien's, the dueling piano bar in New Orleans, and home of the hurricane. The pianists were excellent. Absolutely fantastic. I didn't want to leave, but my best friend wanted to go experience bourbon nightlife. So we departed from the relative safety of the bar for the wild and dark street. Right across the street from Pat O'Brien's is a voodoo shop, and we decided that it would be a good idea just to walk in. Just walk in though. No touching, no buying, just looking. The shop was cluttered with random touristy stuff, clearly catering to the drunken masses that came in from out of town. I wandered further off into the shop and found myself in a darker, dingier back room. My alarm bells were going off, and I turned to bolt from the room just to come face to face with a person covered in head to toe in fabric, rich dark purples, maroons, and dusty grays. I couldn't see his or her face. I stammered out an apology and tried to move around them, but they would not move. The sheer fabrics moved in and out with a shallow, raspy breath. I heard my name being called, and I spotted Hannah over the shrouded figure's shoulder. I began to try to squeeze my way past the figure, and they shifted out of my way slightly. As I was almost out of reach, a hand shot out of the abundance of fabrics and grabbed my upper arm. Something burned like fire, and I swear I heard muttering as I yanked my arm free and sprinted to the front of the store. I grabbed my best friend's hand and dragged her from the store as fast as possible. I let her take me into what felt like every other bar for the rest of the night, but I couldn't shake this feeling that there was someone following us. I was afraid of who I would see if I turned around. We got back to our hotel about 2 blocks from Bourbon Street by 3 a.m. It would have been later had I not begged her to go back. Hannah climbed into her bed, too drunk to care how dirty she was from our Bourbon Street adventures. I couldn't imagine getting into bed dirty, so I went to shower. I noticed the huge blue-purple mark left on my upper arm as I was undressing. I bruise ridiculously easy, so I just passed it off as some miscellaneous bruise I received while being bumped around getting in and out of clubs and bars earlier in the evening. I shower and everything is peaceful and warm, but when I got out of the shower, the words, "Get out," are sprawled across the top of the mirror. The door was still locked from when I first entered the bathroom, and I know the mirror was clear this morning when I took the last shower. I was significantly creeped out. I wiped down the mirror, pulled on my pajamas, climbed into bed, and went to sleep. After a restless sleep, Sunday was thankfully our last day in New Orleans. We did some sightseeing and walked the city later in the afternoon once Hannah was mostly recovered from her hangover. We were perusing the art at Jackson Square when I got that feeling like someone is breathing down your neck. I turn around, but there is no one behind me. There was someone on the corner of the street instead. Someone was standing there, shrouded in a cloud of billowy fabrics of ruby reds, wine purples, and stormy grays. While I couldn't see their face, I knew that they were watching me. Sunday night was exponentially worse than Saturday. Our last night in our hotel room, I packed most of our things up earlier in the day while Hannah was busy emptying her breakfast into the toilet. When we keyed into the room, it was a disaster. Our clothes were everywhere. My bag was emptied and tossed across the room. The beds were pulled apart with the pillows thrown in all different corners of the room. Hannah made a beeline for the bathroom to check on our jewelry and shrieked. I followed her and saw it immediately. The message was back, this time with an addition.
Get out. We warned you.
Hannah and I gathered our belongings and demanded that we be moved to a new room for the last night in New Orleans. This room was smaller than the first room, one bed instead of two. Hannah and I were no strangers to snuggling when it was necessary for the occasion, so it was really no problem. Anything to get us out of that first room. We got into bed early Sunday night. We had a long drive ahead of us on Monday morning. Around 1 a.m., I woke up suddenly with my heart racing. Hannah was lying next to me, still fast asleep, but there was something moving in the room. I could hear rustling near the end of the bed. Neither Hannah nor I were moving. The sheets and blankets on Hannah's side of the bed began to shift and move, and then Hannah was suddenly sitting upright, screaming. Her eyes were wide open and her body was flailing around. I grabbed at the lamp on my bedside table until the room was flooded with light, and Hannah instantly slumped back into the bed. The sheets once again laid flat. Hannah's eyes were still open, and she was looking at me with fear. She reached up with one hand and grabbed my upper arm where my bruise was and whispered, "Something just grabbed my ankles." She then dissolved into tears, letting her hand drop from my arm. It didn't take her long to fall back asleep after I assured her that it was just a bad dream and that it didn't really happen. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I left the lamp on and laid there, waiting for the morning, ready to go home. We left as early as I could manage, practically dragging Hannah from the hotel half asleep. I took the first driving shift, speeding out of there like a bat out of hell. It wasn't until we stopped for gas that I noticed my bruise had spread and elongated towards the inside of my bicep. It was now a gray purple-green color. We made it all the way back to North Carolina in one piece, but I'm pretty sure I started to hallucinate when we crossed out of Louisiana. I kept seeing a gray figure out of the corner of my eye as I was driving, but when I would turn to look, there would be nothing there. We got home early Monday evening, just in time for dinner with my parents. Hannah and I attempted to watch TV with my family, but ended up going to bed and falling asleep not too long after dinner. I woke up to my pitch-black room echoing with raspy whispers. I was alone. Hannah was in our guest bedroom down the hall. I tried to reach for the lamp I usually kept on the floor next to my bed, but it wasn't there. I suddenly remembered I had let my sister borrow it before I went to New Orleans. The whispers were getting louder. I bolted out of the bed to switch on the light in my room. As soon as the light came on, the voices stopped. After inspecting my room, I turned off the light and climbed back into bed. I was too tired to deal with this. I was asleep only for about an hour when I felt something gripping my arm. Sleepily, I brushed Hannah away, but she wasn't there. There was nothing there, and my arm started to burn. Rolling out of bed again, I hit the light switch and I swear there was a billowing shadow sliding off the far side of my bed. I didn't get much sleep for the rest of the night. I left the light on and laid down, watching the billowy shadow circling my ceiling while my arm continued to burn. Tuesday was hell. Hannah left by noon, and I went up to my room to sleep, only to find the light bulbs in my light smashed and the shrapnel spread over my bed. The blinds were also closed and the room was dark, too dark for noon. I took one step over the threshold and immediately I heard the whispering. I decided to take a nap on the couch downstairs. I woke up 9 hours later in my room, in my bed, in the darkness. I couldn't hear a sound coming from the rest of my house, almost as if my room had been soundproofed. A glance at the alarm clock told me that my parents should not have gone to bed yet, and shouldn't they have come up to see if I wanted dinner? I rolled out of bed, and as soon as my feet touched the floor, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. It was unreal. The air felt muggy and smelt like sewage, and the blackness was thick, almost tangible. It was like the smell of Bourbon Street had poured into my room. I reached out for my door handle, and as my hand made contact with the cool metal knob, something brushed against my side. I tried to yank my door open and bolt out of my room, but the door was stuck. I started shouting at the top of my lungs, pulling at the door with all my weight, when light flooded under the crack in the door and it swung open from the outside. My sister was standing there frowning at me. I'll probably get a good lecture for almost bowling over her as I sprinted out of that room, but I couldn't help it. I wish I could tell you that my shouts of obscenities drowned out the whispers in my ear, but I know what they said this time.
You're almost ours.
I didn't sleep at all last night, and let me tell you, I haven't slept at all today either. The bruise is now clearly in the shape of a hand, gray and purple. I watched the writing appear on my mirror while I was inspecting the bruise.
Almost time to go.
Typing all this out helped distract me today, but I still saw the shadows in the corners and behind the doors, and if the TV got quiet enough, I heard them speaking words to me. I took the nightlight from the bathroom and put it in my room this morning, hoping the light would keep the shadows away while I tried to get some sleep. I opened my eyes and I was standing outside my door with my hand on the knob. It's almost 1 a.m. now, and I got a flashlight with me, and I'm lying in my bed. It has flickered twice, and they're whispering songs to me, softly, like a bayou lullaby. They are here, in their billowy fabrics, in the corner by my closet. I think it's time to go. Hey guys, Unit 522 here, and I want to thank you very much for watching my video. I would appreciate it very much if you would share, like, and comment, and if you're new to this channel, become one with the Unity by hitting the subscribe button. If you have a scary story or experience that you want featured on this channel, you can always send it to my email or post it on the Free Horror Stories subreddit. The links for those can be found in the description below. If you would like to help out this channel even more, consider a PayPal donation. And for more updates, be sure to follow me on Twitter. There's nothing wrong with a little darkness in your life, as long as you never forget, there's always a reason to be afraid.